everybody, and welcome back to Office Hours. Today we are tackling a big question. Why does political theory still matter? I am a big theory girl, and I think that is often a very big question when studying political theory. So I'm gonna discuss why it not just not blah, blah, blah. It doesn't just matter in academic debates or dusty old books, but in your life right now. When democracy feels like it's fraying, trust in institutions is low, and we're stuck between fear and frustration, political theory gives us more than an answer, it gives us a lens. So, behind every protest, behind every policy debate, every vote, or every viral moment, deeper questions are asked. What is justice? Who gets power and why? And what does it mean to live together well? So, in this episode, I want to break down what political theory is, walk you through what I believe are 5 foundational thinkers, and show how they still shape the way we argue, organize, and imagine society. So, political theory is not just about memorizing who said what, it's about developing a way of seeing, a compass for navigating the world, if you will. It helps us understand the roots of political ideas such as freedom, order, equality, rights, etc., and how those ideas have been used and abused, challenged, or refined. So, let's meet the thinkers. So, first up, Thomas Hobbes. So, Thomas Hobbes lived through the English Civil War of the 17th century, and Hobbes was haunted by this chaos. His question was, what prevents people from destroying each other? His answer was the Leviathan, which is a strong centralized state. So, in The State of Nature, Hobbes said that life would be poor, nasty, brutish, and short. So we agree implicitly or explicitly to a social contract. So we give up some of our freedoms in return, the state protects us. So you can see Hobbes every time a government expands its surveillance for our safety or justifies police militarization in the name of order. His logic is security over liberty. But there's a twist. What if the Leviathan becomes a threat? If your rights are suspended, if your community is over-policed, Hobbes helps you see the trade-offs and question whether order is really being served. Now let's rewind a little bit to ancient Greece in one of my favorite philosophers, Aristotle. He did not think humans were naturally violent like Hobbes. He actually thought we were naturally political, and so we are social beings that thrive on community. His most famous quote would be, "A man is by nature a political animal." For Aristotle, politics wasn't just about rulers and laws, it was about cultivating virtue, justice, and the common good. So his big question was, does your political system help people live good and live together, or just concentrate power? So when you ask, are we building that for the common good or for private profit? Are citizens shaped to be thoughtful participants or passive consumers? You are thinking like Aristotle. Next up, Karl Marx. You cannot talk about political theory without talking about capitalism. Marx's core insight is politics is inseparable from economy and from class struggle. He argues that capitalist societies produce mass inequality because a small group controls the lives of means, productions, factories, land, capital, while everyone else sells their labor in order to survive. So Marx asks, who owns the wealth, who controls the work, and who decides what counts as freedom when people are desperate to pay rent? So Marx gives us a framework to analyze economic injustices as systemic and not accidental. So in this current era of billionaires, his critique still hits. It still hits the spot. Now let's add John Locke into the mix. Locke's ideas help shape modern democracy a lot, and even inspired parts of the US Declaration of Independence. Like Hobbes, he believed in a social contract, but his vision was more optimistic. For Locke, the role of government wasn't just to keep order, but also to protect your natural rights, which to him were life, liberty, and property. If a government violates those rights, Locke argues that people have the right to rebel. So that it would be a difference, big difference between Locke and Hobbes. Hobbes is very much so obedience, 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 where Locke does give circumstances where it's like, okay, you guys can protest, you guys can overthrow your government. You can feel Locke's influence today in debates around human rights, civil liberties, and constitutional limits on power. He reminds us that the government exists for the people and must be held accountable for them. Finally, let's talk about Machiavelli, the realist in the room. Machiavelli didn't care much for idealism. His most famous book is The Prince, and it is basically a how-to guide for rulers trying to gain and maintain power by any means necessary. So he saw politics as a battlefield where appearances mattered more than morality, and where being feared was more useful than being loved. Sounds dark. But Machiavelli doesn't celebrate tyranny, he reveals how it works. He helps us ask who benefits from the way power is structured, what tactics are used to manipulate or control, and is our outrage being redirected or suppressed. In 2025, with media, populist, strongmen on the rise, Machiavelli is an essential read. So why does it matter? Let's backtrack a little bit. Or let's fast forward a little bit. We're caught between fear and disconnection. Hobbes explains why people trade freedom for security. Aristotle reminds us that politics is about living well together. Marx forces us to confront inequality. Locke grounds us in rights and consent. Machiavelli strips away illusions to how power really operates. Together, they offer a toolkit for thinking politically in an age of confusion. So political theory doesn't give us a checklist, it gives us more of a compass to ask questions like, are we organizing society around fear or freedom? Around justice, profit, appearances, or the truth? So that's pretty much all I have for you. Whether you're protesting injustices, running in student government, or wondering why the world feels off, I encourage you to look into political theory because I believe it is for you. It's not about dead men in books, often racist men in books, but it's about learning to ask better questions because sometimes that's the first act of resistance. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Hope you learned something. Until next time, stay curious and stay politically engaged.